The Present, A Christmas Story, is a book that I published in 2017. It stars Ethel, the sensible elf, and there's Lawrence, the ladybird-nosed reindeer, and the children of the world, and, of course, Father Christmas. I've now animated the present using a program called HALUO AI, and I've done it in a way that I hope retains the spirit of the book. With no way of bursting the balloons, all that Ethel could do was to hold on. Before animating the present, I first recorded myself telling the story. Then I fitted the animation to the narration so that its rhythms and cadences determined the length of the scenes. With no way of bursting the balloons, all that Ethel could do was to hold on. She flew above the gym and over the far side of the fence. Then she was caught by the wind and was carried high up into the air and away over the polar ice cap. My characters have features that are fuzzy. This fuzzy characterization means I didn't want to create reference characters, that is, characters with predetermined features. The technology allows this, but the aesthetics of the illustrations do not. I greatly admire the skill of illustrators who can make a character look indubitably the same in every picture. I can't do that, and I don't even try to. A rough likeness will do. I think this approach helps spontaneity. A simple example are the antlers of Lawrence the ladybird-nosed reindeer. In successive illustrations, I made no effort to keep the shape of Lawrence's antlers consistent. When I'm painting a picture and someone looks over my shoulder and makes a suggestion, I might think, they're wrong. Or I might think, they're right. I viewed suggestions from the AI-generated animations in the same way. These animations sometimes included something that was neither in my prompts nor implicit in the image, but which was, nonetheless, a good idea. Whose idea? I will never know. But some artist from the thousands from whom the AI database draws has, as it were, looked over my shoulder and come up with something that improves the scene. An example turns up in the very first chapter, with the fire lighting the faces of the family. By no means all the suggestions from the database were improvements, but sometimes I would accept them anyway, on the pragmatic grounds that things do not have to be perfect, chill out. This is particularly noticeable with the reindeer. My reindeer have only a vague likeness to normal reindeer, whether real or cartoon. Their antlers are different, their bodies are different, their heads and necks are different. But in particular, there is a difference with the ears. My reindeer have no ears. This obviously offends the sensibilities of the thousands of artists who, through the AI database, look over my shoulder and say, "Hey, your reindeer have no ears. We'll add some in for you." In my prompts, I would say as forcefully as I could, "Look, my reindeer don't have ears because I don't want them to have ears. Leave them be." But no matter what I said, the AI would put ears in anyway. Sometimes, as if to goad me, it would add in enormous great Bambi ears. These animations I would reject, but for the rest I would often relent and chill out. "Oh, all right, have it your way." And so you will see Lawrence and the other reindeer continually growing ears. The book has around 150 illustrations, from which I generated about 300 animations, so using about half of them. Sometimes I would be pleased, even delighted, with the animation first time around. Sometimes it would take several increasingly irate prompts to get a satisfactory animation. What was rejected? Animations were generally rejected for not following the story, or departing too much from my illustrative style, or a mixture of the two. For example, at the end of Chapter 8, all the presents that have been manufactured ready for Christmas are shown sinking down into the depths of the ocean in a series of 4 illustrations. The AI did well for the first 3. However, on the final picture, the animation had the presents floating upwards and changed the colours of the image for the worse. I rejected this version, gave a new prompt, and was pleased with the updated result. In another example of a rejected animation, Lawrence does not jump over a fence like he's meant to, but walks through it like the parting of the Red Sea. Jumping the fence is crucial to the story, so this animation had to be rejected. Sometimes, however, rejecting an animation was a more difficult judgment call. For example, in the animation of this illustration, I like the pilot's manifest satisfaction at having dropped Father Christmas's present squarely on the roof of his igloo. However, the animated pilot is a boy, and in the story, delivering Father Christmas's present is an adult endeavour. So, reluctantly, I rejected it. For good reason, no doubt. The Hail Euro AI program has built-in censorship. Depending on how discriminating this censorship is, I can imagine that it might be problematic if you were trying to make something for an adult audience. But The Present, of course, is a children's story, and its illustrations generally manage to get animated without any obvious no-go areas or interpolations. Once or twice I sensed a reluctance by the AI to show children positively kicking presents. Aside from that, there was just one occasion when my illustration was censored. I tried to animate a leaking tube of bubble mixture, but was told that my content had violated community guidelines. On one occasion, I had the opposite problem. I provided an innocuous illustration of Father Christmas, Lawrence and Ethel. I wrote an innocuous prompt, and I pressed the button. The AI hummed away for a minute or two, and then, to my shock, presented me with a scene that appeared to show that Lawrence was undergoing colonic irrigation. Sometimes, as I've said, I'd think, ooh, that's a good idea, when the AI came up with something I hadn't thought of. This was not one of those occasions. Despite these little hiccups, with the help of AI, I hope I've made an animation of the present that captures the spirit of the book. Of course, it's not the same as actually sitting down with a book and reading a child a bedtime story. But perhaps you can do that.